I've always wanted to become a digital nomad, but I've never done it. So I want to know if it's overrated or if it's actually worth the hype.
Am I a digital nomad?
I think so. Yeah, would you call yourself digital nomad? You are on a digital nomad visa.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I never thought myself to be a digital nomad. But actually, when I think about it, then I guess, yeah, I travel and work and I guess that's what digital nomad is.
Okay,
So,
you're as close to digital nomad as I could ever get to. So you're my pick. Sorry. Lightning round.
Lightning round, a bunch of questions about digital nomads.
For me to assess if it's something worth looking into.
Yeah, let's see if we can do all the questions under 1 minute.
Okay.
And I have not heard these questions before, so I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah. Honest, authentic answer.
Yeah, first things that come to mind.
All right. Okay, first of all, introduce yourself briefly to the audience. What do you do for work?
I do sales. Now, more specifically, enterprise sales. I fly around to different countries, onboarding their teams to our influencer marketing platform, and basically, hosting dinners for industry professionals and getting them to buy our software. And since, I guess, I can work with a laptop, I just need Wi-Fi. Often I sit on sales calls or meetings or send emails or do research or whatever, then it doesn't really matter where I work. So.
Okay, that's fair. How long have you been living this lifestyle and where have you traveled so far?
Well, technically, I've been doing this for the past 5 or 6 years. But the tricky thing is, probably the first 3 years was me just doing it in Estonia. So I worked remotely, but I wasn't really a digital nomad because I really didn't go out of the country.
Okay.
But I've been basically everywhere in Europe. My honorable mentions are, of course, Portugal, Croatia.
So jealous.
But also Canada is the one place that I've been outside of the country, and New York more specifically too. Let's see if I can also add Singapore and Asia to the list soon.
Singapore, okay.
Who's now a client there?
Yes.
Those interested.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the reality of the lifestyle. Walk us through a typical day in life as a digital nomad.
It's a bit tricky to say what the typical day is, because sometimes it can depend on where are you at. I can give two different scenarios. I think if during summer you're in South Europe, the amazing perfect day can look like you wake up, let's say 7 a.m., you literally go for a jog, you swim in the sea to refreshen up, you go take a shower, and then the clock hits 8:30 when you're done. So you start working, you do your emails, you just do your regular work day. You either sometimes work inside somewhere, or if you can, you go out for lunch and you work a bit from the cafe, and that's it. But if it's during winter times, and I guess you're more in Toronto or Canada, then I would say it's a very standard remote job where you don't have to go to the office. Or sometimes maybe if you do want to hang around with people, then you would join a WeWork co-working space or come to Zouk or places like this.
Okay. You're just hyping it up for me now. Okay, next one up. What are the biggest misconceptions about being a digital nomad? What are some of the things people think you guys do, but you don't actually do it? Some things you would hear people say, oh, it's so nice, you can do this as a digital nomad, you don't have to do, this and that, but you actually have still those obligations and, life is not as dreamy.
Yeah, I think people kind of maybe forget that it's still actual work that you're doing. It's not that you sit on the beach and maybe you send an email every once in a while. No, it's you actually are working a lot of hours, depending on also which company you're working at too. Especially if you're running your own business as a digital nomad, I would even assume that you're probably working more than even resting or traveling. If it's your own business, you might be even clocking in 12 hours a day. So maybe that's a common misconception. Also, working at a beach, not that comfortable. Think the sun is shining on you, you're getting boiled, there's sand everywhere. Of course, there can be some nice spots where you can do this. So typically, I would still keep the work set up and maybe taking that time to hit the sand and beaches slightly separate.
Okay, but you're saying this because you have actually worked on a beach.
Yeah.
Guys, it's doable, it's possible. Some people are living that life out there.
I guess it's so hard to complain about it, but sometimes it's like you don't also know where you're gonna end up next. That can be questionable, but also sometimes fun. I think the hard part probably is if you have to go cross continents. Now, like when I was only in Europe, it was pretty chill. But cross continents, now the time zone and the routine to build up every time you switch spots, it's very, very difficult. Whenever you change a country, trying to build up a routine is so hard. So I would say, like, if you ever want to do digital nomad stuff, probably try to stay somewhere, like at least a month
in the same time zone.
Yeah, or even if you go somewhere, stay somewhere like multiple months. Don't do like a week here and a week different place. Really difficult to focus or get anything done.
Well, if you're traveling around so much, how do you stay productive while traveling so constantly?
Probably this is still one of the hardest parts if you're moving around a lot. Again, between different continents, the time zone thing can wreck you. So staying somewhere multiple months at a time so that you can build up those routines will be very, very helpful. This is really cool, I think. You can get a lot of work done during your travels too. It is hard. And sometimes, like I would say, sometimes I have this idea in my head that, I'll go to the airport and then I'll work in the airport and I'll get on a plane and work there then. But usually what ends up happening is that you're so tired, you don't want to work and then you just want to have a rest on the plane. But I have had a few flights where I get a lot of work done. So it's also sometimes fun to actually work whilst you're traveling as well. But otherwise, I would say routine, just set up routines, mini rituals, plan your day. You just have to do a bit of this, I guess, the monkey brain where you just have a task list and you have to just grind through those.
It can be planned as nicely as you could have if you just stay at one place and work, right? Because sometimes you also get car sick or like motion sickness and all that.
Yeah, I guess then maybe the key part actually is making sure you take time to rest and or work out and gym, and because like if you're home or if you stayed in one place for 2 months, it's probably easy that like I go downstairs, I have my gym, I turn off at 6 p.m. I have rest. But if you're going between different countries every week, then that's tough. So if you keep reminding, then that's totally doable as well. Like you can still work 1 week in Portugal, 1 week in Spain. It's just you have to plan out your time a bit. Where I would say the best time to travel would be over weekends probably, because if you don't, then you start get behind on work during weekdays, and then it's gonna kill your happiness over the weekends.
So people still need you on weekdays, basically. You're not as free of a soul as people think you are. You're still responsible. You're still accountable for people who's working on weekdays.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I want to hear about some of the pros and cons. What do you think is the best part about being a digital nomad?
I think the main key is probably this freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And also kind of choosing, even though sometimes you tend to end up maybe working longer hours, the peacefulness that you get from even choosing your own hours, it's like so beneficial. Because sometimes going back to productivity even, like how many times have you gone to the office and you're like, I can't function or think at 9 or 10 a.m. But you really don't have a choice. Whereas sometimes if you are a digital nomad, of course if you're in sales it might be a bit trickier because if you have meetings. But if you don't have meetings or if you aren't in sales like me, then that's okay to even at 2 p.m. say, I can't think straight, I'll go hit the gym, I'll come back at 5 p.m., I'll be fresh again, and then work till like 7, 8, and have really, really productive hours still throughout the day. I think that balance of playing with time is like...
That sounds nice. I would love to go to a gym at 2, 3 p.m. where nobody's there, because every time I go at 5, 6 p.m. it's a zoo. What's the hardest part that people don't talk about? I
think I've partly gotten lucky a bit with my work and what I do. And often like some like level of associated costs I don't have to really like think about it too bad. Because if I have to meet a client, I can also make sure that I won't take like a massive financial hit of like flying somewhere. Whereas I can imagine that for a lot of people who want to get into digital nomad stuff and they maybe are just at the start of their career, the financial part could be very, very difficult, because then you have to really thoroughly think through. It's like, which Airbnb am I gonna stay in? What's it like to work there? What's the Wi-Fi gonna be there? What's the cost? And what I'm gonna eat? And are the cooking equipment there good enough? Which I think I kind of have a luxury not to think about right now too much. Going back to maybe this full freedom and time management, the actual time management is a tough part, because as easy it is to say at 2 p.m. I'll stop working and then I'll work a little bit later, it's also very easy to overwork. And then if you overwork for multiple months, you can also very easily burn out as well. So if maybe compared to 9 to 5, then it's like, you work from 9, you work till 5, and you turn your brain off. You kind of really don't turn your brain off, I think, when you're a digital nomad.
Depends. I think you're just a workaholic.
Maybe. But I think, the toughest part is actually like taking care of yourself then, which is a bit maybe weird to say, because I think everybody has to take care of themselves. But I think if you have a hard cut that, okay, don't think about work anymore, then it's maybe easier. But maybe I'm also just spoiled now. So.
Yeah. I think the taking care of yourself part also applies to people who are not digital nomad, right? You can easily overwork when you stay in the same place too. But I think the financial burden is a good point, because let's say I wanted to become a digital nomad. Obviously, I wanted to travel to the places that are cool and with activities, right? I wouldn't want to, well, maybe some people want, but I wouldn't want to start my digital nomad life in the middle of nowhere in a village with a countryside. So I would want to do London, Paris, Amsterdam, Florence, right? These places are expensive. Airbnbs are expensive. Food is expensive. I'm not going to move to a place and buy the entire kitchenware just to cook myself and have to buy salt, pepper, soy sauce, oyster sauce, and everything every time. So financial burden for sure. And I think lifestyle and making sure you go to hit the gym constantly, because just with these 2 travels we had, it's so easy to break your gym pattern. So I can't imagine how hard it would be for digital nomads to stay in shape and stay fit. So I think that's a good point.
But I think a lot of them actually are. But I think the key is then they maybe that's another misconception then too. It's like they don't travel all the time. They will probably find a place and sit there for 3 months, or if anybody goes into Asia, they're usually there for 6 or 12 months at a time, even in a specific country. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a misconception. Yeah, that would be a misconception in my head then. I'm like, I'll stay in a place for a month or 2 and I move to another place for a month or 2. And that's probably too frequent to a regular digital nomad.
Yeah, I think you could do it in Europe. But other countries probably not. Even now, some of my team members, I think one of them has been in Bali already for multiple months, and someone is somewhere in the rainforest in Asia, who's our HR. I don't know how she's even has internet there, but she's somehow been managed to make it work. I think if you have a really good plan as a digital nomad, and it depends also I guess what exactly you do for work, you can probably optimize the costs really well too. It's of course you can spend a lot of money in LA as a digital nomad, or if you can work from some I don't know, Philippines, or I don't know actually what's the Thailand, some maybe cheaper alternatives where you have to literally spend $500 to live for a month, and probably you can save up your money a lot faster too.
Have you ever felt lonely or disconnected from friends or family, and how do you handle that?
I think this is probably very, very individual. I think a lot of people will say that they can't do it probably for that reason. I think I'm very comfortable with myself and used to being on my own, that I'm very comfortable with it. But funny enough you say that, is that I don't think I feel lonely or missing out on anything till the point where I meet back probably up with my friends. So for example, our company CEO is basically my bestie too.
That's convenient.
I'm fine.
So you talk to him every day anyways.
Yeah, and I'm fine also not seeing or even talking to him probably for multiple weeks. But whenever we do meet up and hang out, I do feel also more productive and happy, and we can talk about things. So I feel like there's something there, but it's probably not as big of a problem for me as I think part of the digital nomad empowerment is that, oh, you're now literally alone. Nobody's there to take care of you. You have to figure it out on your own. I think that's the empowerment part.
How do you deal with burnout or travel fatigue if you travel so much?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing to focus on when you're a digital nomad, is to make sure that your work and taking care of yourself time is well balanced. So making sure you're able to set up good routines, and also that you hit the gym, and you also make sure that you take that time off to just kind of hang and exist, not to only think about work. Yeah.
What are some unexpected costs that you face as a digital nomad?
Food. And why food is that depending how good you were at selecting the place where you're gonna stay at, it's also gonna heavily impact how likely you're gonna be eating in or out. And if you're often living this digital nomad life, your coffee bills also can rank up very, very quickly, because if you just work out of your Airbnb, you can go kind of insane eventually if you don't go out. So where do you go? You hit the coffee shop, you get a coffee, you get a pastry, and those things will rank up eventually. And if your kitchen sucks, you also sometimes like just don't want to go through the effort of cooking yourself, even as much as I love cooking, as you might just eat out something. And I think those food costs will eventually rank up pretty quickly then.
That's fair. I'm almost too afraid to look at your coffee bills, because this is what, the fourth coffee of the day. How do you find affordable places to stay when traveling? Does it matter for you because company pays for it?
Oh, just yeah. I feel guilty if I book something that's way too outrageous, or extravagant. Yeah, I always try to find a balance between cost and work area and some of the amenities to, like, if I need to pay, let's say, even an extra $100-200 a month to have a good kitchen and a work desk, then that's worth it. So I don't go out and spend a lot of money on restaurants or coffee shops, for example. Yeah, so I think there has to be a balance, but otherwise I guess it's just like Airbnb and yeah.
If you could go back, would you still choose this lifestyle?
Yes.
Do you see yourself being a digital nomad forever, or is this a phase?
I don't think I'll ever stop remote working, but I guess if you consider digital nomadism as part that you also have to travel all the time, then I would imagine that eventually I'll slow down, of course. I'll have to settle down.
I have to settle down. Sounds so sad.
I don't think you also have to settle down, really, but that's a different topic altogether. But I think I'll never stop remote working, yeah. Probably something has gone horribly wrong in my life if I end up working in an office.
What if Modash blows up and you bought out the entire building and now you have to, go into the office 2 days a week now? You'll just quit. Sell my stock and I'll just quit.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I also remember now your friend saying, going to their bosses and being like, no, just fire me if you bring me to the office.
All right. What advice would you give someone who's considering becoming a digital nomad?
Do it. Figure out what time zone is best actually for you. For me, I have to take client calls, then being in North America versus Asia versus Europe, and even on which sides of the continents is very different. So I think that maybe like just planning a bit out, like what are your time zones and which hours you need to be working is probably very critical. I think you can power through for a week and two. That's like fun working only evening hours, but
I'm already getting tired.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable for months at a time.
All right, final verdict. Do you think digital nomad life is overrated, or is it totally worth it?
I think as long as you can keep your life structure them together, I think it's worth it because you can see so many different places, you learn about different cultures. I often think when I end up still working in like Estonia out of the cold wintry time, why am I not in Portugal swimming in the morning? And it's so easy to stay fit because like every morning I wanted to go for a run, and then after the run you want to dip in the sea, and then all they eat there is like fish.
True, it's clean, good protein. That's true.
So yes,
Okay, so we're moving to Portugal.
at least for like 4 to 6 months out of the year. Yeah.
This wraps up our lightning round. Not so lightning rounds.
Bye.
Bye.